Yo, what's up, digital marketing mentorship friends? It's Dave. Happy New Year. It's Monday, January 3rd, about 11:20 a.m. in the Eastern time zone. Hey, do me a favor, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from, all that great stuff. And wanted to chat with you this morning about getting started. I know a lot of people getting started. They have a new business, new coaching business. Maybe you have had a coaching business that you haven't had any clients for. So not really a business necessarily, but maybe you want to get some new clients in this new year. And I want to share with you something, a strategy that worked for me. It may work for you if you put it into play. But obviously there's no promises. You have to put in work ethic. I'm not making income claims, all that other jazz. But if I were going to get started right now, I would do one-on-one coaching calls. I would book one-on-one coaching calls. And when you're doing this, when you're getting started, you have to do things that don't scale. Because you can't scale something that doesn't exist. And so my priority, my focus would be on making my first $1, making my first $10, making my first $20, making my first $100. Because then when you have revenue coming in, when you have some money, then you can invest in the tools that you need, right, to get things done. A lot of people say to me like, oh, I don't want to use this and that tool because it's expensive. Well, if you have money coming into your business, then it's not really expensive. It just becomes a cost of doing business. So if I was getting started right now, I would do one-on-one coaching calls or strategy calls. And the tools I would use would be the following. I would use Zoom to do the calls, okay? I would use Calendly, C-A-L-E-N-D-L-Y, Calendly, to allow people to book times on my calendar. And I would pay for it. I would pay for the pro version. I think it's $144 a year, like $12 a month or something like that if you pay annually. Trust me, it's worth it. You'll hear why in a second. So I would use Zoom and Calendly, right? Calendly, people can book their times with you, their calls with you, and Zoom is how I would deliver the call. Now, if you hook up Stripe as your payment processor to Calendly, the paid version, you can set it up so people have to pay right there at the point of making the appointment. And when you set it up, you have Zoom and you have paid Calendly and you have Stripe. You can set it up so people can only book these calls, and people can't book them until they pay for them. And it'll go right into Stripe. And after the first payment, if you've never used Stripe before, it might take a week for that first payment to come through. But after it's set up and everything's cool and Stripe has assessed your business or whatever, the money hits your account in like 2 business days. So the money comes in really quickly, and it'll go right to your bank account. So really, that's what I would do to get started, because you already know people. There's people in your sphere of influence. There's people on your social media, whatever, where you could just post stuff like, "Hey, it's the new year. I know you're trying to make some goals. I know you're trying to hit some resolutions, and unfortunately, a majority of people will fail. And I have some ideas or some strategies, or let's do a coaching call." And I wouldn't charge a lot of money for it. I would charge, I'm just making this number up. I don't know what feels right for you. But when I was doing it like 7 or 8 years ago, it was like $50, $75, right? I mean, $50 an hour is more than most people make at a job anyway, right? So $50 for an hour-long call. You set it up in Calendly. People can only book certain slots of the day. If you're working full-time in a job, then I get it. You can only do coaching calls like really early in the morning or in the evening at night. So set those availabilities up. And, for the early morning ones, let's say, listen, you got to get up early, you got to hustle, whatever. Those of you that do that, you can book an hour with me in the morning. That's what I did. You could book I had 2 available hour slots in the morning. And if that meant I had to change my morning routine because somebody booked a paid call with me, great. What a great problem to have. And I would also have some slots in the evening. And then I would do some on the weekends, right? At some point, you're going to have to do stuff that you're going to have to trade some time to make this happen. So they book their strategy call, they book their coaching call, whatever. Don't even worry about making a full package. Just do like a year in review or a year planning thing with them or whatever. They book it in Calendly. It goes on your calendar automatically. It will automatically, when you integrate it with Zoom, it will automatically set up a Zoom call. It'll put that information on your calendar. whether you use Microsoft Outlook or any of the Microsoft products for your calendar, or Google Calendar or Apple Calendar, whatever, iCal, it'll put it right on your calendar. It'll put it right on their calendar. You can set it up so they'll get a text message reminder at whatever intervals that you want. And then you don't really have to do anything to schedule it. Once you get that set up in Calendly with the Zoom and the Stripe integration, then people can just book time on your calendar. And what I would do is I would set it up so that I just had those recurring slots every single week in Calendly. And I would periodically go out on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn and say, hey, he wants somebody to bounce some ideas off. You know, I'm a trained coach or certified coach, or I've helped some other people with this, whatever. And I'd love to help you with your goal setting or goal getting or your goal achievement or whatever. If you'd like to book a slot, click here, and you just put the link to your Calendly event that you've set up. Because then when you do that, right, let's say you do, at $50, let's say you do 10 a month, okay, which is not a lot over the course of 4 weeks, right? A couple a week. Let's say you do 10. That's $500. And then when some of you are like, oh, I can't afford to pay $100 a month for this tool or $100 for that tool, I'm like, well, if you had $500 coming in, that would be $100. And then you still would have $400 essentially of profit, right? High profit margins in coaching and training and consulting and courses and memberships and stuff like that, right? But this does a number of things. Okay, first of all, you're going to get some money. Second of all, you're going to serve some people. I should probably reverse them. You're going to serve and help some people, and in return, you're going to get some money. Okay, and then when you have that money, when that happens, it raises your belief, raises your confidence. Okay, and then you're more likely to do some other things. Plus, you're learning how to use these tools. You're learning how to set it up. If you do them in Zoom, you can record them and send as a value add. You can send the recording to your new clients. Maybe if you provide a lot of value to them, they'll want to do other calls with you in the future. So maybe you send them an email every quarter and say, hey, do you want to do an update or whatever, right? And then you have a business going. And listen, I know I'm the email list guy, but all of that I just told you is without having an email list. It's just posting out on social media and having this stuff set up. So that's what I would do if I was going to start today, because it gives you all of those things, right? You serve people, you make some money, it increases your confidence. You learn how to use the tools that are going on there. And now you've already paid for your tools, by the way, based on that scenario that I just mentioned to you. Say you make $500. I'm not making income claims, right? But let's say you made $500 in that month. Calendly is like let's just say $150 a month a year for some quick rounding. I have no idea what Zoom is per year anymore. I have had an account with them forever, but it's probably safe to assume that, you would pay for those tools. Those would be paid for now, right? Stripe doesn't cost anything except a percentage of the transaction. So you're not paying anything unless the transaction happens anyway, and it's like 2 or 3%. Okay. So after all of that, right, now all your tools are essentially paid for the year. After that, you still have, a couple $100 in your hands. And then when I say, hey, build your email list, go get a tool like ActiveCampaign or ConvertKit or Kajabi if you're going to do courses and memberships, then you can make that work. And based on the scenario I just gave you, that's 10 hours a month that you'd be trading hours for dollars. There's no time really setting up the calls once you get the thing set up, right? Once it's set up in Calendly, it's doing its thing. And then you just have that running. So let's just say, right, and again, your mileage may vary. You could, doing one-on-one calls every month, you could get 10 of them at $50, right? That's $500 every month just in your one-on-one calls, okay? That's over $5,000 a year, right? $6,000 a year, right? Top line, gross. But then you would have money to be putting into your business. So then you could be growing your email list. You could be building a course. Some of the things you learn from doing one-on-one calls with people as you get closer to what the problems are. You start to understand the terminology that they're using, their struggles, things like that. And so as you're going through all of that, then you can start growing and scaling your business. But you can't scale something that doesn't exist. You can't improve something that doesn't exist. And even I, I don't do a lot of one-on-one anymore because it doesn't make sense for me in my business, right? I have revenue coming in from all kinds of different angles and ways, and I have lots of residual stuff set up. And so it's not a good use of my time to do trading hours for dollars, right? Ultimately, that's where you want to get to, is not having to trade hours for dollars. But when you're first getting started and you have no dollars, pretty much the only asset you have to trade is your time. So trade those hours, do one-on-one coaching calls, Okay, it gets you some practice, all that kind of stuff I talked about. But most importantly, I think, if you're running a business, is to get you revenue. And then you could take that, invest it in other things. Okay, I think it was Ann who just asked, yes, hey Ann, what's the difference between Stripe and PayPal? They're essentially the same thing. Stripe is a little more, I guess, user-friendly. It has more functionality, and it allows you to do some things, and it integrates nicely with Calendly and some of these other things that it just makes it easier. So I think PayPal might integrate, and you might be able to do some of those things in Calendly, but there's always like an extra step. There's like an extra friction point on the customer's end, whatever. Stripe is just the most seamless, and it integrates really well with all these platforms, and it doesn't cost you anything. So for me, I actually have a Stripe account, I have a PayPal account, I have a Square or Square Up account. I have a couple other accounts. I have a Coinbase Commerce. I can accept Bitcoin. So I have lots of different ways I can accept money from people. I even have a PayPal swipe thing if I were to see people in person, or I could also do it. I have one for Square too, where I can use NFC cards, readers, right? So the cost is the same, I think. It's roughly like PayPal's 2.5% to 3% per swipe. Same thing with Stripe. It's probably 2.5% plus 10 cents or something like that. I don't know, but it's the same. But for me, Stripe is easier, and it just has less hassle on both ends of the conversation. So meaning your end of the transaction and the customer's end of the transaction. And it just works easier with stuff. So that's what I would recommend. It's not hard to set up. You can link it directly to your bank account. And the big difference is that Stripe doesn't hold your money. Like with PayPal, if you got paid $100, and then let's just not even try to do the math of 2.5% plus 10 cents, whatever. Let's just say you got $100 payment net in your PayPal account. In order for that money to come out, you have to direct it to come out. You have to say, oh, I want to withdraw it. And then if you don't pay PayPal an extra however many dollars to get it instantly, then you'll get it in a couple days. The way Stripe works is Stripe doesn't hold your money. Stripe is set up to a bank account. And so you'll get paid that $100, and it still might take a day or two after Stripe gets it because it wants, the time to clear and everything else. But once that payment clears, it goes directly to your bank account. So you don't have to go in and grab it. So for me, I have a lot of residual stuff going on where people are paying me. I wish I could clear my throat once and for all here. Where people are paying me for stuff pretty much every day on a recurring basis. And so, and yes, some of them come through PayPal and some of them come through Stripe. In PayPal, it just sits in there and adds up, which is really great, but then I have to go in there and withdraw it. For Stripe, I get this email like every day that's like, oh, $400 is going to your bank account today. Oh, $200.37 is going to your bank account. Oh, $800.42 going to your bank account. Because Stripe is just, they don't sit on it. It's once the transaction clears or whatever, it goes right to your account. So I guess that's the big difference. Thank you for asking. So that's it. I wanted to keep this under 15 minutes. So I'm going to end here. But if I was getting started, that's what I do. Do stuff that doesn't scale. I know that I recommend, books to talk about scaling a business and do it. The stuff I just gave you, if you do it right and you set it up the way I talked about, you can scale it later. You can, once you have that infrastructure in place, if you want to set it up for group coaching, you can just set another appointment type in Calendly for group coaching. So it's not one-on-one. So instead of doing one-to-one, you could do one-to-many, and maybe you could charge the same rate. So instead of raising your rates, maybe charge $50 for people, but it's a group call. And then you say you could have 10 people on the call. All right. And maybe do some training, maybe do some hot seat, whatever. But let's, for easy math, say it's 10 people and say you did it for an hour. Now you went from doing $50 in 1 hour to serve one person, where now you made $500 because 10 people got on at $50 on that Zoom call for 1 hour. Now you made $500 in that hour. What if you did that 10 times a month? Okay, that's $5,000. You didn't really raise your rates. You just didn't do one-on-one anymore, right? Like if companies are going to, like with inflation and stuff that's going on right now, companies have a couple options. They can either raise the price of their thing to help offset it, or they can do what's called shrinkflation and shrink the size of the product and still sell it at the same price. But ultimately, you're still paying more for less, okay? Instead of paying more for more, you end up paying the same for less, if that makes sense. So you could do something like that, right? And all of that, what I just mentioned, that next step, all happens in Calendly, Zoom, and Stripe. You don't really have to do anything other than setting up another account type. So instead of doing one-on-one calls, but maybe you can offer both of these now. So maybe you offer a couple times a month a group coaching thing, and you limit it to 10 people. I would limit it to something. I don't know if 10 is the right number, but 10 people at $50. Okay, they get on, and the value here is that they can learn from other people and the questions that other people ask and the answers that give other people, because some people don't even know what questions to ask. They don't know what they don't know. So there's some value in doing group coaching as well. But just based on those two scenarios, okay, if you continue to do 10 people one-on-one at $50, which I'm not really sure why you would still do one-on-one for $50, but let's just say for math, you had people set up on an ongoing basis, right? So you're making $500 doing those 10 hours, but you're also making $500 a couple times a month for 2 hours, right? So now you've added more revenue to your business. You haven't added a bunch of additional time. It's a couple hours. You got a lot of extra revenue. And now when you say to me, Dave, you can't say, I don't have money to invest in my business, because now you do, right? And that's just a simple way to do it, okay? Zoom, Calendly, Stripe. And if you want to be able to stay in touch with people and send out some marketing emails, you could start with ConvertKit or ActiveCampaign. ConvertKit, I think you can do for free if you don't have more than 500 people. And ActiveCampaign, I think, starts at like $9 a month, something like that, okay? So there, I just gave you a whole thing. There's people that literally would charge you $2,000 for what I just taught you very quickly in 16 minutes, okay? I like to be efficient and effective. Now, it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to implement this stuff. And yes, it's going to take time to go learn Calendly and play with Stripe or whatever. But once you get that thing set up and people can book paid slots with you, it's so amazing. I have a couple paid slots going on today. I told you I don't do them very often. And right now I reserve them for people that are in some of my paid programs already, or I have some high level one-on-one coaching clients that I've had for a few years. Those are the exceptions, but they pay me a lot of money for those. But those are on my calendar today, and I didn't do anything to set them up. People know what the link is. They book the time. There was only certain hours of my day that those calls could be booked. One of them is coming up here at the top of the hour, and I'm getting paid, and I'm serving these people. All right, that has nothing to do with me building a course or having a membership group or anything else. That's just strictly trading hours for dollars, and that's what I would recommend to you as you're getting started. Okay, hope that served you. Have an amazing day. Thank you for everybody joining us live. If you have questions or comments, please put them below and I'll get to them when I can. Additionally, if you're new here, check out the guides. Well, even if you're not new here, check out the guides section of this group. There's a lot of really good basic information in there. And I think because people need this, I'll probably even add this episode to the guides section. So right now there's like 8, this will make 9 things in there. There's a link to one of my podcast episodes. There's a bunch of Facebook Lives in there that talk about the fundamentals of building your business online, doing digital marketing. And one last thing I'll leave you with. If you found this useful, you found anything in this group useful, please do me a favor and invite 3 of your friends, not just any friends, but people who you think would benefit from what's going on in here. Because my goal this year, like I'm hitting my revenue numbers and all kinds of other stuff, my goal is to try to impact more people. Not try, is to impact more people. And if you bring more people to the group, I can impact them. And just through this method right here, right, you could have gone and paid $2,000 for this. Literally, I could point you to a course where someone teaches this exact thing, not much more, and they charge $2,000 for it. But I do it for free in here because I want you to learn. I want you to be able to be scrappy and get started, because that information is critical, but you have to implement, right? I get it. Some of you have more time than money. That's what was my situation when I got started, right? I had more time than money to invest in my business. So make some money, and then you'll have a little bit of time and you'll have more money, and then you can invest that money in your business. And as long as you do it right, then that money just keeps working for you, and you get to a point where you don't have to trade hours for dollars anymore, which is really awesome. All right. Hope that served you. Have an amazing day. See you.